The UK government has just announced a landmark new scheme to become a doctor, a so-called medical apprenticeship scheme. Will this solve the recruitment problems plaguing the NHS? All this on another episode of Northwing Explained. Welcome back to another episode of Northwing Explained. And I'm Nick Stanig, digital lead here at the Northwing magazine, bringing you an insider scoop to all the changes happening in medicine worldwide. We're not just focused on the UK, even though that's the topic of this episode, but we are focused on bringing you the insider scoop of medicine worldwide. So let's just tuck in. The UK government has just announced in Parliament that they are starting a brand new way to get into medicine. A brand new way, you say? A brand new way, yes. Forget the days of traditional medical school, lectures, labs at the end of the day, and placement at the end of your medical school career. No more, I say. No more. Now, you're going to be able to work and earn money from day one. So let's get into this. So, what is the so-called medical apprenticeship scheme? So, the Health Secretary, Stephen Barclay, as part of the NHS long-term workforce plan, students who meet the same high standards as those who choose the traditional medical pathway can opt for a medical apprenticeship scheme. So, apprentices get paid a wage. They're not the same as going to uni because the apprentice is working and learning at the same time. So it's like on-the-job training. So apprentices get paid a wage while training to get nationally recognized qualifications, as well as being able to learn how to meet those retrospective standards that traditional medical students undertake. So the apprenticeship scheme will last 5 years. 5 years. So while students are studying to become doctors, they will also act as trainee medical practitioners. So that means throughout the day, throughout their week, they will be alongside junior doctors, consultants, learning on the job what kind of procedures that goes on and kind of experimenting in terms of their procedures, maybe taking a blood sample, maybe taking care of patients, maybe being the hospital porter. We don't know. We don't exactly know what this entails to become a trainee medical practitioner. So the government's perspective here is quite clear that this will enable students to apply their newly acquired skills and knowledge into practice almost immediately. So as soon as an apprentice learns a new procedure or how to take a blood sample, they will be able to implement it immediately learn how to do it and learn on the job. So I want to make it clear as well that alongside working full-time at the NHS, and NHS Trust, for example, apprentices will be expected as part of their course to attend lectures at specific medical schools across the country, depending upon where they're based. So it's not a completely disregard of the traditional medical pathway. So students will still be going to lectures, practicals, and probably some seminars as well. But the difference is they're not purely focused on the theoretical and the scientific part. They are applying that lecture and that knowledge, that newly acquired knowledge, into practice and into the real world, into the NHS. So NHS organisations across England will be responsible for putting out apprenticeship adverts, therefore giving the local organisations and local authorities the power to decide the best fit for their local medicine demands. Essentially, it gives local government and local NHS trusts the power to create a workforce that ultimately mirrors the population they serve. And if you want to find out why it's important to have a medical population that serves the community and reflects the community, have a look at our previous video. It talks directly about this incredibly diverse and complex issue. So why is the government doing this? Why is the government forced to implement a completely new scheme? Why? So, as we probably all know and seen in the news lately, that the NHS is severely understaffed. An estimate by NHS England suggests that the service is already operating right now in 2023 is operating with 154,000 fewer staff than it needs. 154,000 staff fewer than it actually needs, putting a stress on every single level of the NHS hierarchy and the system itself. So junior doctors are undertaking a lot more than they should. Consultants are handling and managing large amounts of patients. And there, frankly, isn't enough nurses, specialists in the system at the moment to cater to the big influx of patients in terms of the COVID backlog and just people being able to go to their GPs and go to their local hospitals to get cancer checks, to get cancer treatments, and all sorts of other diseases. Everything has been put on a hold because frankly, there isn't enough staff to deal with it. The government also says that without radical action, well, the government does not say this, sorry, NHS England and the BMA, British Medical Association, has said that without radical action, the NHS in England will have 28,000 fewer GPs than it already has, 44,000 fewer community nurses, and even a greater lack of paramedics within 15 years. So 15 years, all these people leaving the NHS within 15 years. This is not normal, people. This is not normal. And there simply isn't enough medical practitioners, doctors, nurses, all out there to replace these staff and actually fix the problem. So the government has previously, they've tried to fix the problem by kind of hiring a lot of foreign medical practitioners, which is a good thing. Okay, loads of young people being able to work in the UK and help our health service. But at the same time, this is not a long-term plan. We need to be able to develop a self-sustaining national solution to the NHS crisis, because the NHS is a national health service, a national. So the British Medical Association has been calling for change for years now. Years. And in the aftermath of austerity introduced by the coalition government of David Cameron and Nick Clegg, austerity kind of amplified and magnified the problem of staffing to a whole new level. Obviously, this is a long-term plan for the NHS, and I'm very, very glad that the government has introduced finally a long-term plan for the NHS, because people have been waiting for a long-term plan. It's always been a short-term approach to all of these problems. But while I'm glad there's a long-term plan, there are also a lot of unanswered questions about how this apprenticeship scheme will operate. What is the relationship between an apprentice and a traditional doctor? Are they in the same level? So what are the benefits of this scheme? What are the benefits of this? Are there any benefits? So NHS organizations can carefully design their workforce to better reflect the needs and demands of their community, which is a good thing, as well as reflect the communities and populations they serve, dramatically improving not only racial diversity, but also cultural diversity within the NHS, and a culture that kind of reflects the community that they serve, making it encouraging the local community to actually participate and get help and treatment that they need. So this also gives people the opportunity to become medical professionals and become doctors, even if they don't want to go to university full-time or they can't afford to go to university full-time. So this provides an option to still become a doctor while circumnavigating that previous requirement of going to university. It provides the NHS with additional manpower and workforce to efficiently tackle the demands of the day-to-day. So that's a crucial point. I mean, we don't specifically know at the moment that what these trainee medical professionals or apprenticeships will be doing on the day-to-day, but it's definitely more manpower, and this would hopefully improve the efficiency of a very inefficient NHS. So hopefully this will tackle some of the day-to-day issues plaguing the NHS at the moment. And lastly, it gives apprentices the opportunity to apply what they learn into a practical setting quite quickly, very, very quickly. The government has promised from as soon as they learn it in a lecture, maybe a week later or even a day later, they're in their hospitals, at their placements, and implementing what they learn and learning on the job. So there are definitely some benefits to this scheme. There are definitely some benefits which needs to be emphasized. But there are also a few concerns. Just a few concerns. So one of the concerns is that apprentices will be thrown into the deep end of medicine without proper training. So their placements and hospitals, NHS trusts, emergency rooms are all horrific places. I mean, doctors experience the most chaotic and the most heartbreaking of circumstances on a day-to-day basis. People without any training or any kind of experience to deal with this level of stress on a day-to-day basis, this takes a toll. This takes a toll on a person. So there is that fear that apprentices could be thrown into the deep end without any proper training, and this could screw up even more so the day-to-day runnings of the NHS. So another concern is that staff oversight is already at breaking point. Finding the time for junior doctors and consultants to watch over these apprentices is going to be very, very difficult, because I'm sure everybody is aware that when you're on placement at an NHS hospital or at a GP service, the GPs, the consultants, the junior doctors already running around like headless chickens trying to get all the stuff they need to do done on a day-to-day basis. But imagine taking in a whole new batch of people, a new batch of apprentices who know nothing. People is going to have to watch them meticulously because this is life or death. So there is concerns about oversight and patient care in that sense. Another concern is that it potentially creates a two-tiered doctor, one for medical school and one through the apprenticeship scheme. Are they on the same level? Will they be viewed by society at the same level? Will they be viewed by doctors themselves on the same level? So this is interpersonal dynamics here are also very, very crucial in terms of how the NHS works. And the NHS is the biggest employer in the UK. Or, even close on the planet. So this interpersonal connections and relationships are very, very important into the runnings of the NHS. And lastly, it's uncertainty. Obviously, uncertainty if medical standards will be able to be kept up and making sure that patient care is not at risk because of the lack of oversight and the two-tier doctor system and lack of training in the meantime. So there are some crucial issues which need to be addressed. But it's not... I think it is a balance, and we just need to wait for more details from the BMA, from the government, in terms of how this apprenticeship scheme is going to run. And to bring it to a bit of politics, the Labour Party, the opposition party, led by Sir Keir Starmer, has said that the Conservatives are copying an old Labour idea. So Labour, in the past elections, have tried to introduce this sort of apprenticeship scheme. So there is bipartisan support in Parliament for this scheme. And Labour has suggested that they support the proposal by the government, but it's just too late and will do nothing to solve the actual acute problems of long waiting times at A&E, outpatient appointments, the COVID backlog. So this is just it's a long-term plan, but it does not fix the day-to-day failures and horrible circumstances plaguing the NHS right now. The British Medical Association are saying that they are concerned for patient safety, and rightly so. There's lack of clarity in terms of how this is going to operate. Overall, this proposal has pissed people off. It has pissed a lot of people off, and a lot of people are justifiably scared about the future of the NHS. So, to give some credit to the government, this is the first long-term workforce plan that the NHS has had since the arrival of the Conservatives and the coalition government in 2010. So, this is a good step forward. We're finally thinking a bit more long-term. And hopefully, while implementing this long-term plan, short-term problems, these acute problems plaguing the NHS, will get solved. And again, it's due to start in September of this year, so there's not a lot of time. It's next month. Next month it's supposed to be implemented. So the people designing it better get to work, and hopefully this works. So yeah, it's a bit controversial here. We're striving right into politics here. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Is the government right for introducing such a scheme? Will this improve staffing levels of the NHS in the long term and in the short term? Will the NHS survive this current crisis? So, thanks for listening to Northwind Explained. I've been Nick Stanig, your host. Goodbye, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye-bye.